Do you want to read more and think it's hard, or are your reading goals stressing you out? Then this video is for you. Here are some really good advice that will actually make you enjoy reading more and also get more reading done. So let's get into it. One of the best ways to actually get more reading done is to read books that you honestly and actually enjoy, because it's so much easier to do something else than to actually read if you have a book that you really don't enjoy. So think about what books actually fit you right now, what mood you're in, what kind of life situation you are in, what you find exciting, which authors you might like. And if you want additional inspiration, you could also check out my free guide here, where I talk about different books that could fit you depending on where you are in your reading journey. Another cheat code to reading more, which I personally always do, is to stay immersed in the world that you are in. So if you are reading a series, try to read it back to back instead of skipping around with different books, because then it's so easy to forget characters, what's going on, and lose the overall feeling for the world and the books. So if you are starting a new series, try to read it from the first to the last book if it's not like a million books long, and you will probably feel a lot more motivated to keep going, to hang out more with these characters and to stay in this world. Another thing you also can try is stop reading only in one way and find out what actually fits you. I said I personally love physical copies of books, but tablet is also such a good option, because then you could easily just get the next book when you have finished the last one, and you could also bring it everywhere. And audiobooks is also great if you like to do other stuff at the same time, like cleaning or working out or going for a walk. So try different formats and see what you actually enjoy the most. And this might seem obvious, but I also would recommend you to plan or find time for your reading, because it's easy to think that you must have these long stretches of empty hours to read on, but I think most people could actually squeeze in a little reading every now and then in their everyday life. If you are eating alone, for example, if you are commuting between tasks at home, when you have put kids to bed, if you have 10 minutes between things you are doing. So try and prioritize reading when you can in your life, and you will probably get some chapters done every now and then. And also, if you can have long stretches of reading, that's just also amazing. One thing that's also really inspiring when it comes to reading is to find people that like the same books as you do. And that could be friends or people in your community. I follow a lot of people online who likes the same books as I do, as many of my friends doesn't. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then I think you also should do, because we talk about a lot of fantastic books here. And that also makes me motivated to read more and pick up the books that they talk about. And I also get inspiration for new upcoming releases, find new interesting authors. So that's a really good way to stay immersed in the reading world and also have more inspiration for your reading. You could also maybe find a friend or a family member that you could buddy read with, or you could find a book club online or somewhere in your community, because if you're reading together with someone, or if you're at least talking books or getting inspiration from someone else, then it's also so much more fun to read, which will also make you read more in the long run. Another thing that will make you want to read more is to keep track of upcoming exciting releases. I personally love to know that there are so many exciting books that are releasing, and even if I'm personally reading both newer releases but also older ones, I think this is really inspiring. And if you think it's hard, you could also visit my website on this link, because I have a full page with all the upcoming releases for 2026, so you don't have to do it yourself. But I think this is so inspiring, and I also love knowing that another book in my favorite series is coming out, or this really exciting author is releasing a debut novel, because that makes me want to read it. And I think such inspiration is so important when you are trying to read more in your life. Then you never have to think about what you're going to pick up next, and you almost don't have to get in a reading slump, even if that could easily happen if you read something really great. But still, you know what you can pick up next, and that is so important if you want to stay motivated to keep reading. And on that topic, I would also really recommend you, if it's economically possible, to have books at hand that you can pick up next. Because it's so much easier to start with the next book if you are in a flow. And I don't mean that you have to buy a lot of books to do this, but you could also think when you're borrowing books from the library, or if you could borrow a couple of books from a friend, then you also might have your next read at hand. And it's so much easier to start and get excited about your next book if you already have it. So try and plan out your reading a bit and also know what you're going to read next, which will also make it so much more fun. Another thing I think is really important is that you actually DNF books if they are not good enough and if they don't make you happy or encouraged to keep reading. And I think this is just something we have to do more, because life is short, and why spend time on something that you really don't enjoy? So if you really don't like a book, try and find something else that makes you a happier reader. If you're bilingual, I also want to encourage you to find out which language you prefer to read in. I personally read mostly in English, but I also love a good Swedish book. So if you know multiple languages, then I also think you should explore which books you prefer in which language, because this could also help motivate you. Another thing I also think is really important to keep the fire going is to not pressure yourself to read. Don't set these enormous reading goals. Don't think you have to read a certain amount of books each month. Read for fun and read for your enjoyment. And don't even count books if that stresses you out. I think reading is the best hobby you can have, but I also think it could easily be ruined if you put too much pressure on yourself. So be really careful with this. And like I said, if you are stressed out by your reading goals, then don't have any. And if you are reading a lot, or if you are reading less but you feel a little bit bored, then I also want to encourage you to try something new. Maybe a new author, maybe a new genre, maybe something you've never read before or thought you even would like. And you never know, some books that are really unexpected could be your next 5-star read. And if you want to have some inspiration for what might be your next 5-star read, I think you should check this video out.